All right. Good morning. I'm here, Eric Amati with the tribe, and I've got Shannon Carpenter on with me. Shannon, good morning.
Hey, good morning, buddy. How you doing?
I'm doing all right, man. I got my coffee in my cup here, and it's actually funny. My brother and his wife came over last night from. They live about 3 hours from us, and they have four kids, and that are their youngest is about the same age as my oldest, and so I've got two. So we've got six kids in this house. So if by some miracle we don't have any children in the background during this podcast, I'm going to be really, really grateful. So,
Luckily, mine are asleep because they're 10, 11, 12, 13, and 23. And so far, that's all that's come forward.
wow, man, you got four too. So you just never figured out what was causing that, or what?
No, we finally did. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Some people watching this, I know like the people in our team are going to know who you are, but like the rest of the company, like they may or may not know. So just introduce yourself. Like where do you live, and how did you get into the business? How long ago? And just kind of tell us your story real quick.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I've been in the business about 15 years total. I grew up and had a father that was a police officer, loved to hunt and fish. And at 53 years old, he fell off a chair and he hit his head on the table, and he died instantly. It caused a massive coronary, and he died. And we thought we had life insurance, and it turns out we really didn't have much because what we had was through his work, and you had to die like on active duty or a certain type of way. That was a struggle for the family. Now my mother is a widow, and then a couple years later, she goes through a little breast cancer experience. And after double mastectomy and surgery and missing months of work, I'm like, Mom, how are you able to pay the bills? And she said, this company that she bought a cancer policy through had actually paid her and helped her, and that's what kept the house paid and the lights on. So I was going to school at the time for IT. And I had a nice IT job. I had a job that paid me a nice six-figure salary. I had a job that paid me, this is back in the day, like they covered our benefits. I'm talking short-term, long-term, dental, vision, life, and major medical. I had a company car. My company credit card covered my tires, my gas, my oil, just car insurance, covered all that. And I saw what this company did for my mother. And I told my boss, I'm like, I feel like this is something I've got to go do. So 2 weeks later,
That's cool.
I quit my job and I went to work for a company, and literally for 100% chance of commission. And then everybody, including my mother, was like, "You're crazy! Don't do this."
I love that.
So, within about a year, I was a district manager at that company, and then over time, I worked for a couple others, and I learned different things. I started off learning cancer policies, basic life insurance, like one or two options, and then I got into more of an investment side with companies that offer hedge funds and IULs and stuff like that. So I found my way to Family First Life about a year and a half ago. And, for the first year, I bought leads heavily because that's what everybody does. And I wanted to learn this way. I've never bought leads. Even at my last company where people use leads, I've always kind of been the go out and meet people. I've always gone to businesses. That's always been my thing. But when I came here, I wanted to learn this system because I wanted to hire people and I wanted to teach it. And I figure if there's this many people out here doing it with Family First Life, then I want to learn that way. So for the first year, leads. I probably spent, I don't know, $1,000 on leads in a week. And with Family First, you can literally purchase your own paycheck. I mean, you're buying these leads.
Right.
People that are asking for help, the more people you can, go see, the more families you can help, the more income you're going to have for your own family. So anyway, then, it kind of dawned on me, like I hadn't touched these IULs because most of my clients are looking for final expense. They just lost Aunt Sally to COVID, and they're just looking for $10,000 to $20,000 just to make sure they're not a burden on their family when they pass away. I'd say it's 98% of my clients. So I started thinking, how can I get back in this IUL market? And I started using TikTok. I made a separate channel because TikTok, the algorithm seems to like it when you have a specific genre that you're speaking about. So I started a TikTok channel, and by no means am I the master. Do I know everything? I couldn't even honestly tell you that I know the back end of all the math and how it works. But I either know somebody that does. I've got a whole team of support that does. The key for me was getting people interested in a conversation with me. So I learned how to work that algorithm. And I don't know if you're familiar with TikTok. You use TikTok. You have TikTok?
Yeah, I do have TikTok. But as you're reading these tips, I'm making these banners for people to see because it's my way of taking notes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did not know that. So I have a personal channel, but I don't have I don't have a business channel. So I need to get on that. So yeah, tell us more about that.
Sure. Well, in right around the time when the whole Rona thing hit, I had an employee that was always on TikTok, just constantly on TikTok. And she was like, "You need to get on TikTok." And I'm like, "I don't have time for that child stuff, man. Come on." And but then that hit. We couldn't go anywhere. We couldn't go see clients, and that's what we're used to doing. So I got on TikTok. Now I have 8 channels. I get paid on 4 of them. TikTok actually pays you to make content too when you become really good at it. And so anyway, I did
Are
have.
all 8 of your channels about insurance, or you have like one about IULs and another one about, I mean, how do you?
One's about insurance, and one's about, I have a cooking channel.
Okay.
One's about photography.
Okay. So I could start one about motorcycles, for example.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the biggest one that blew my, you never know what's going to go viral. But the one that blew my mind the most was on Christmas Day. I started one called The Naughty Boy, teaching people to tie ties. KNOT.
Naughty boy.
Naughty,
yeah.
right? I thought it was clever. And the next morning, I woke up to 34,000 followers. And now I have 1,000 followers on just that one channel. And I'm like, what on earth? Like, I just started the channel because half the people I work with see, I didn't have one on this morning, half the people I work with see all these fancy Merovingian and Trinity knots and all this different stuff that I tie, bow ties. Like, hey, can you teach me how to do that? And so I thought,
sure. Well, I'm going to go subscribe to that today. Trust me. You'll have 100,001 this afternoon.
But yeah, so I started doing a TikTok channel just about mainly just anything finance, anything I can do to help people with their finances, whether it's helping them get out of debt, helping them learn to build wealth. And I had a video just randomly go viral about an index universal life. And I woke up the next day to about 46 emails of people saying, "Hey, what do I need to do? Where do I need to put my money? Tell me what's going on." Because in a market like today where their 401k and their 457 and all that stuff is crashing, I got people that email me every day going, "I lost $100,000 last month. Like, please help me." So there's a huge market for it. And
that's great.
I'd say there's 50 companies that offer an IUL, and each company probably has 5 or 10 different policies, and each policy probably has 50 ways they can be structured. So the big key is finding somebody that knows what they're talking about so they can structure them properly. I know enough to be dangerous, but I know how to get the customers to talk to me. I know how to find their need. I know how to structure it to where it's going to fit their need. But before I do anything, since this is a big deal. You're dealing with people's money and their finances. I always run it through either one of the companies that I'm dealing with. You got to think we probably have 30 different companies at our disposal. All right, so you have to learn 30 different companies' software. Imagine if you went to work, for a new company, and I said, "Okay, you're going to go through a week class to learn how to use our software systems." Well, now you have 30 companies you got to learn. So I run it by them, and I run it by a team of my uplines, basically to say, is this the right thing for this person? Is this what you would have done? And they'll either usually say, "This looks perfect," or they'll say, "I tweaked a few things," which means you kind of screwed this up.
Do you ever use AMS to run through their team for illustrations?
I did in the beginning, just because I had not done an IUL in probably 10 years. A company I worked at a long time ago, we did them. And for the last, 8 years or so of my life before coming here, I was an executive market director of a different company, and it wasn't what we did. We didn't have that as an option. It wasn't one of our products. So I ran it through FFL AMS. You go on there, you click Ask a Specialist, you type in some information about what your client is looking for, their name, their demographics, whatever. And then they give you a recommendation. They're usually pretty quick. Within a day, you usually got something in your email saying, "Here's an illustration," and they'll even get on the phone with you and teach you how to read that illustration. Once you read one, it's very simple. But the first time you see one, it's a whole bunch of numbers,
Right.
It's like, what am I looking at here?
It's real intimidating. I remember the first time I looked at one, I was like, what is going on here? Term insurance is easy to explain, right? But this is something else.
But you don't have to know all that. When you're new at it, like when you're with your first one, all you need to do is talk to the client and really just ask them, what is it that you're looking for? Most people are looking for minimum death benefit. They don't care so much about the death benefit. They're looking for maximum distribution, which is I call it their tax-free annual salary, if you will. So they're looking for, what do I need to put into this, and what is it going to produce for me? So all you have to do is get some basic questions like, how old are you? Do you use tobacco? What's your height, weight? And the biggest question I ask them, I say, this question may sound kind of funny, but how much are you willing to invest in your own future? Because if you think about this, we're reverse engineering life insurance. When they say, I can put down, I'm just going to say $500 because that's about average. I guess that's about what most people can put in their IRA, right? So they say, I could put $500 a month towards my own retirement. Well, you just told me how much, because ultimately this is a life insurance policy. You told me how much you're going to pay. You told me what the premium was going to be. So now I've got to solve for what the face value is, right? And the face value, let's just say it's $387,000, and $24. Like, that's a weird number. I don't go to somebody's house and go, hey, so how would you like a $384,000?
Sure.
So we're reverse engineering this.
So when you say how much can you put towards your retirement or whatever, right? That's your question. And then you reverse solve for premium with minimum face amount, maximum accumulation, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's pretty much that's your rule of thumb with pretty much everything. And so
Right.
for people that don't understand what that means, what Shannon's saying, I'll see if I can simplify it. You tell me where I'm going wrong, right? So I'm not really concerned about getting my death benefit up into the millions of dollars. I'm more concerned with what is the minimum amount of insurance that I can put in place to where I don't get taxed as a endowment contract, right? Which is
correct.
That's because the way these products work is, theoretically you could buy $1 of death benefit and have all the rest of it going to accumulation, but then the IRS knows that you send out these red flags. Oh, you're monkeying with the product design, right? So there's a threshold that the IRS actually puts in writing and says, hey, below this, above this threshold, you're good, right? And so literally all you have to do is they make it really brainless for you. That's the minimum. We're going to buy the minimum of death benefit because the real purpose of me buying this is to use the accumulation portion of the product design to build my pension. Correct?
Right. Exactly. You got it.
Okay. All right. So for people to kind of get an idea of the kind of results that you're getting, right? So, typically when we sit down with a family, let's say we sit down with a family on a term insurance, or mortgage protection, and let's say that family spends $100 a month, right, on insurance. And I'm just pulling a number out of the air, right? So when you multiply that by 12, that's a $1,200 annual premium.
Right.
And in general, a lot of the policy, I've had policies that are $30 and $40 a month. I've had policies that are, even $100 a month, $200 a month on the high end with mortgage protection. So, but just on average, your average family spends, let's call it $1,000, right? And so if I protect 10 families, that might have been roughly 10,000, could have been 5,000, who knows how much premium it is, right? But like just an average, that kind of helps people. So when you sell a policy for $500 a month, right? Like you said, do you get to count, because they pay the commission differently, right? Don't they pay the target commission different than the overage commission? Like, can you kind of talk about that for a minute?
They do. They pay the target premium. Well, they pay the target premium or the annual premium, whichever is lower, which is pretty much always going to be the target premium. But when I start doing this, honestly, I still don't know that I can tell you exactly how we get paid. I really have no clue what the little, I can look up what our comp grid says, but ultimately it doesn't matter to me. I know if I take care of the customer, I know that if I'm doing the right thing for them, I know money's going to come my way and I'm going to be, compensated for my hard work. But, most of these companies, I guess, let's say if you're at 100%, for example, that's where we start people out, then you're probably making 80% of whatever the annual premium is going to be. So, I've got people that say, I mean, there's no number, man. I've got people say, well, I don't have that much money. I can do 250 a month. I've got people that say I can do 1,000 a week. It just depends on, their situation. What's funny is I live in a pretty poor area. I live in Eastern Kentucky in the Appalachian Mountains. And I mean, our average household income is about probably $24,000. That's household. That's mommy and daddy together. So like, I don't have a lot of customers. With my last company, I was really targeting the employees of a business. Now I'm more so targeting the owner of the business.
The owner of I was going to ask that. So like because you have business owners that are trying to figure out how to get money to themselves without distributing it to themselves right now and paying taxes on it. Right. So like when you're approaching a business owner, like, I know you have your TikTok leads coming in, but like, do you make outbound like cold calls as well? Or like, how do you get your business that way?
I like to, I don't have a lot of time to. So the TikTok thing keeps me pretty hopping, but I do have a lot of clients from the past. And, especially like with our Empowering America, I can go in and say, hey, here's something I can offer your people to help them get out of debt. I can cut their debt in half. I can give them 0% interest on what's left. And I'm getting into a whole nother
sure. No, but that's good.
But I can, they can't afford some of these things because they're covered up in debt. If I can help them get out of debt, maybe they can spend a little bit of that extra money that I've helped them save on investing in their own future. And I have plenty of people that say, you know what, I want to get one of these for all my employees. I'm wasting all kinds of money on different benefits. This looks great because if you think about it, really, I market this as you're buying a retirement plan. You're investing in a retirement plan. It happens to come with life insurance, critical, chronic, terminal, long-term care. It comes with all these things as a byproduct. So on top of that, it also comes with, I call it a bank account, right? Because if you compare a 401k to an IUL, I don't know the exacts, but I would say a 401k right now is probably earning 4 to 6%. If I'm just trying to be nice, and an IUL, right now they say averages between 8 and 10%, sometimes higher. And for people that don't know how that works, a 401k is directly invested in the stock market, and IUL is not. It's called IUL because it's index. So we're going to watch the stock market performance. But the way it works is if you look at, the little growth line that you see for an IUL,
sure,
they get 19%, right? It goes up 19%. Well, when it drops to -8, guess what? You get -8. When it goes back up to 12, you go back up to 12. When it goes down to -4, you go down. So your growth pattern looks like a heart monitor, right? It looks like one of these things. Yeah. Well, if you look at an IUL growth pattern, it doesn't do that. So when you get 19%, it goes up to 19. When the market drops -8, you have a guaranteed floor of 0. So we guarantee you're not going to lose money in a down market. So you have a flat line. And then you get 12 the next year, it goes back up. Then it flatlines again, right? So it looks like a staircase instead of a heartbeat.
Right. Yeah, it doesn't look like an EKG, right?
EKG, thank you. I was looking for the word.
Yeah.
Sonogram? What is that?
Yeah. No, but I know like this, right? Because, and I think people, it's so funny. I was talking to somebody literally yesterday about this, and they were asking about the whole buy term and invest the difference, and how permanent insurance is a waste of money and whatnot. And I said, well, there's some validity to that, in the sense that if human beings were robots and would actually take you're talking about $500 a month as a benchmark, right? And let's say I can get a term policy for the face amount at $80, right? So if I buy the term for 80 and then take the extra 420 that I would have been spending on this IUL and invest it every single month without fail. It doesn't matter if the market's going up or it's going down, or if it's going down for the last like 18 months, but I'm still putting it in every month, right? Then yes. And if I have 30 years of time to work with, statistically speaking, I will make more money in the market looking back over 30 years, right? Like if the past performance is any indicator, which of course it's not, but if all those things, right?
Right.
And I was telling my friend, I said, look, I'm a professional. I do this for a living. Okay. And when the market has had the last like 4 months where we've been like, my portfolio's lost money, your portfolio's lost money. Of course I have money in the market. I'm sure most people doing this do. I just don't have all my money in the market. I have safe money that's in these things, right? And And as I'm watching my market accounts go down, of course, like I got on the phone with my broker and I'm like, hey, do we need to move some stuff around? Right. Because you and I know what I'm doing. Like, and of course there's rebalancing and stuff, but I'm not going to just pull out of the market. Right. But in my heart here, I'm like, oh my God, I'm losing money. I need to do something. And I know what I'm doing. I've been doing this for 20 years. Right. So of course the average person is literally, what is the mantra? Like, you buy low and sell high. Right. That's the way to win at stocks, right? Buy low, sell high. But what most people do, because we're emotional and we're uneducated, most of us, is, we wait to get into the market until everybody's in the market, right? It's like, oh man, everybody's making money, I should probably get in here. And so we buy high, and then when the market starts going down, we're like, I gotta get out of here, I'm losing my money. And we sell low. And that's how people lose money. And so this whole idea of like, oh, I'm gonna buy, turn, invest the difference. It's like, yeah, mathematically as a math exercise, yes, right? But when you take into account how human beings are and how you yourself probably are, why would you want to, even if you could somehow manage to play the mental game of putting money, which my dad actually did. My dad, he's not a fan of permanent insurance, and he very disciplined, right? And did that. Now, he's got he's like a ninja up here in his brain, right? But even I was talking to him, he's like, well, yeah, of course it's stressful, right? Well, you have zero stress with these products. I can put the money in, I don't have to worry about it. I'm guaranteed never to lose money, and every time the market goes up, I'm winning. So it's I think most people, when they truly understand it, they're like, oh yeah, okay, let me do that. Right. Yeah.
So two other things. One, people don't think about this, but I'll talk about doing one of these on their children. Sometimes people are like, oh, no, that sounds morbid. I don't want to talk about making money when my kid dies. I'm like, no, that's not what this is for. See, life insurance is supposed to be used while you're alive. It wasn't designed to be used when you're dead. That's called death insurance, or what I call final expense. So I mean, if people have ever heard of companies like Disney and Nike and Starbucks, JCPenney's, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, like all those companies were started with cash value life insurance. That's how, look it up anywhere. That's how they were started. So if the people believe buy term, invest the difference, are you telling me that, that Walt didn't know what he was doing? McDonald's?
Right.
Ray didn't know what he was doing. Yeah, Ray was an idiot. He didn't know what he was doing. That's
right.
The most successful chain.
He was a victim. He was a victim of a scam. Yeah.
The victim of a scam. Yeah.
Yeah.
But start one of these on the kids, so you don't have to put in $500 a month. I'm 43. If I put in $500 a month, let's just say hypothetically that produced me $50,000 of annual tax-free income when I turn 65. If you put in $50 on a child, like my kids are mostly around the 10 to 13 age. If I put $50, maybe $100 a month into their policy, they're going to have the same result without having to spend as much as you and I have to put in. And I'm assuming you're about my age. Including
Thank you.
Including you in my category of demographics here.
I'll take it.
But then also you have that cash value component that I was talking about earlier. With a 401k, you can't touch that money until you're 59.5, or you get a 10% penalty, right? Well, here,
correct.
You can dip into that anytime you want. I tell people, I use 80%. Each company may be different. Some people say 87 is like the exact magic number, but I say, if you have $400,000 in your cash account and you're 45 years old, you want to go buy a house or a car or whatever, you just call up the company and say, hey, send me a check for $100,000. So now, instead of using the bank's money and paying that money back and spending money in interest, you're paying yourself back the interest. Now, technically, you don't have to pay that loan back at all.
Right, because it's guaranteed by your death benefit.
Exactly.
Right?
You don't have to pay it back, but you would want to, because it's going to keep your money growing and working for you. But you can either pay the money to the bank, you can pay the money to yourself. Which one do you want to do? Which one makes more sense? So I'd rather be the bank and pay myself back. So those are some of the fun components. Yeah,
for sure. And how long after, like, if somebody opens up one of these and they put in, you were talking about $1,000 a week. Let's just take somebody who's like, in that situation, business owner setting up a pension, right? So $4,000 a month. How long after he's putting money in can he loan himself some money?
Well, usually with an IUL, it's going to be about zero for the first year. It has to have time to grow, and it really uses compounding interest. So the longer it's in there, the more. I would say for the first 10 years, it's probably not worth much unless they came to the table. I have people that say, I just want to, put in $20,000, or I want to take some from over here and put it into here. I've had people say, I want to put in $1 million just to get started. Now, if you put in $1 million, of course, you're going to have instant access to,
Sure.
80% of that money. That'd be great, but not everybody can do that. So on a realistic example, I would say 0 for the first year, not much for the first 10 years. These are really more designed for long-term growth, compounding interest, and a retirement. So I don't want to say set it and forget it, because I want to talk to you every year. We want to look at it and see how things are growing. But at the same time, it's really designed for, okay, start this now, put this money in religiously. When you're ready to retire, now we're going to look at it and see what you've got.
So let's transition into, because we talked a lot about the product and what it does, but let's talk just a little bit about if I'm an agent watching this and I'm not right now currently selling or offering IULs, or maybe I have and I've sold a handful, but like it's not part of my 90% of my business is something else, let's say, right? How do I start getting into this area? Like how did you do it, and then how would I do it?
Well, that's a good question. So one, you can't even get contracted until you have a customer pretty much ready to go. So someone behind the scenes is going to be helping you with the illustrations and finding out what's best for the client. The key for you is to get the client. So, I say that the best form of flattery is by copying someone else, right? So go on my TikTok. You're more than welcome. If you go to TikTok and just search FFL Alpha Team, or tiktok.com/@FFL_Alpha Team, takes you straight to my page. Watch some of my videos, get educated on how these products work, and then either say exactly what I said. You can save the video, hurt my feelings, save the video, make your own video and say exactly what I did, but repost it as yourself. Or, if you're not much of a camera person, you can just, you can duet the video. So you can click the share button. And
how does tell us how that works? So that's when, like, a screen like this where you have two people, the original video's over here, and then you're reacting to it, like that kind of thing. Yeah.
Neil sent me one the other day. Neil's my upline, Neil McMahon, and he sent me one the other day. Somebody random, I don't even think they're with our company. They were with somebody else, but it was my video, and I'm the one doing the talking. And he's like looking over at the screen. We hear this, I guess. He's looking over at the screen, and he's going, "That's all you need."
That's great.
Your head point, like, dude's got it right there.
Yeah.
And now he has he had 40,000 views on that one video.
That's great. And every time he does that, don't you get credit for it or something?
So the way the algorithm works with TikTok is, let's call them brownie points, just for lack of better terminology. Okay, I'm gonna really dummy this down. So
I love it.
So you get brownie points for interactions. So if someone likes your video, you get a brownie point. You don't get much, but you get a brownie point. If they leave a comment on your video, you get a lot of brownie points. If they share it to a different platform or share it with somebody else, a different user, you get a lot of brownie points. If they watch it to 90% completion or more, then you get a lot of brownie points. If they duet you, you get a whole lot more brownie points. If they stitch you, which you can Google that and figure out what that means, then you get brownie points. So you get brownie points for all these interactions, right? Meaningful interactions is what they're called. So when you get a lot of meaningful interactions, let's just say that it goes out to, let's say I only have 100 friends that are my followers. I just started my TikTok, and I added a bunch of friends from Facebook because they can, do that, whatever, find my friends. So I have 100 friends. Let's say that 50 of those people see the video, like it almost all the way, leave a comment, share it, save it as their favorites, whatever. TikTok says, oh, this is a great video. I'm going to send this to a few more people that he knows. All right, so then they like it, they watch it, they save it, they share it, leave a comment, whatever. Then it starts going to people that I don't even know, that don't even know me. And then they start liking it, they start sharing it, et cetera, et cetera. Now it hits the For You page, which is when you'll see it blow up. So I posted one 2 days ago, literally at 10 o'clock in the morning, and by noon it had 4,000 views. 70 people had saved it as their favorite video. 90 people had shared it to other people. And by the end of the day, it was like 10,000. And it's probably, fizzled out. Who knows? I've seen those things pick back up and go from
Well, I
500,000.
mean, that's something else. You one of the things you do on your videos that I think is great is you're like, let's see how long this stays up before I get banned from. Have you ever literally been banned or they shut a video down?
I have.
No way.
I have, and I don't know if we're allowed to say this. You may have to cut this out, but the government puts a lot of restrictions on what you can and can't say regarding the selling and the advertisement of these products. So even though all these products are perfectly legal, it's a 7702 tax code. That's why it's all tax free. So which means that means the government can't tax this, which means they can't make any revenue off of it. So they highly regulate how we handle ourselves, what we can say. And I love when people comment like, it's a scam. I'm like, trust me, if it was a scam, I'd have been banned a long time ago. It's
Lost your license. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I'd have lost my license. I wouldn't even be in business anymore. We are so highly regulated on what we can and can't say that it cracks me up when somebody leaves a comment like that. It's a scam. And it is sad. Like you said earlier, our country is just very financially illiterate, and it's not our fault. Nobody teaches it. Our schools don't teach it. Our colleges don't really teach it. There's no way for them to know this except for going to TikTok and learning from us, getting on Google or Forbes or whatever.
Well, and I think you're what I love about your approach is you're very much like, I think the way you present yourself, you're very much on a crusade, to educate people. And I think, whether you're building a business, like in my case, like I'm definitely on a crusade, to help people get off the merry-go-round, exit the rat race, just
Right.
stop spending your time to make other people money. Like just stop it. Right. And so to me, that's my crusade. And I think people that are on crusades, they end up like being, having just a much bigger impact. It's doing the same job, but it's, my dad told me a story one time about these bricklayers, right? And a guy comes along and he asks these three guys that are laying brick. He's like, "Hey, what are you doing?" And the first guy says, what does it look like I'm doing? Laying brick, And then the other guy, second guy says, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Dude, I'm working for a living, feeding my family, And then the third guy asked him, "What are you doing?" And he goes, "I'm building a cathedral." Same job, but just the way that job exists up here, right, changes the enthusiasm, the experience in which you do that job, and it's magnetic, it's attractive, right? And like in your situation, I mean, you're definitely on a crusade of like, dude, we're not educated, we're illiterate, let me teach you something here that will potentially, at least save you a lot of money. So I
Right.
love that.
And I've been saying these things for a long time, but when they really took off was, oh gosh, a year or so ago. And I'm not a sports nut, okay, but Jim Harbaugh, I know who he is now. Forbes released an article on Jim about how he's now the highest paid college football coach, right? So I said this once on a live Zoom, and I said, who can tell me who the highest paid NFL coach is? And they were like, and I was like, it's Jim Harbaugh. And they're like, yeah, that's not the NFL, buddy. So shows you what I know about sports. But I thought everybody was going to say Nick Saban. They're like, yeah, he's not NFL either.
He's not NFL either.
But Jim Harbaugh basically has, I call them golden handcuffs put on him, by Michigan. They said, you know what, we're going to not only pay you barely the highest salary of any coach, we're also going to invest in an IUL for you. And the way it works is they own it, they're paying for it, but if he stays his full term, I don't even know what a full term is for a coach. Let's call it 10 years. If you stay your full 10 years with Michigan and you don't go anywhere else, then we're going to give you this policy, and it's going to produce you around $1.4 million of tax-free retirement for the rest of your life. You're going to get that. So do you think he's going to go somewhere else?
I love that, it's like vesting, right? It's like, so, and any business owner, even small business owner, can set this up for their employees as deferred
Right.
compensation, basically, right? Because,
Right.
and if they don't vest into it, big deal. The business still owns all the cash value that's in the policy, right?
Right. Yeah, but I use them for buy sell trade agreements, stuff like that. You have a couple attorneys, and they're partners. If one of them were to pass away, I've had them set it up to where, let's say there's a $2 million death benefit. Well, 1.5 million goes to the family and 500,000 goes to the law firm, so they can replace this person because they had a huge caseload, and this one attorney can't cover the load by themselves. So I've seen people structure it that way. But there's a lot of ways you can do these. There's no one size fits all.
Well, but going back to your point, which I just put back up on the screen, the key is for people that are not doing this that much or just thinking about getting into it, The key is to get the client. So if you understand the concept of what Shannon's talking about, then, you know, there's certain ways that you can kind of like turn this mortgage protection appointment into an IUL opportunity, or you can turn this final expense appointment into an IUL opportunity, right?
Right.
And the best way that I've heard to do it, and I'd love to hear is Sean Ruggiero. I had him on here recently, and he was talking about the golden question, which he's like, this is just a magical question that you can use in any scenario. But when you're doing the financial inventory, when you're asking people about their current setup, is to just ask them, hey, do you have anything that acts like life insurance? In other words, like if you were to pass away, you know, like right now, if you were to pass away, God forbid, right? Do you have money in like a 401k or an IRA or something like that, stocks, whatever, that would convey to your wife, your beneficiary, whoever that is, right? If you weren't able to get any more life insurance, do you have anything that acts like life insurance, right? And then if they say no, then okay, then there's an opportunity to start putting something together. And if they say yes, like, oh yeah, I do, I have this 401k over here or whatever it is. The second question is, well, is that protected? Is that protected? And, you know, most people are like, well, what do you mean? What do you mean? Is that protected? Right. And then at that point, you're like, well, I mean, the 401k you're investing in mutual fund, I'm guessing, is in the market, correct? So what happens if the market goes down like it's doing right now, you know, or like it did 6 months ago, or whatever the case may be? Like, do you lose value in that? Okay. So right now you're in your 40s and you've got plenty of time to recoup that value. But like, what happens if it goes down seriously, or what happens if it goes down right before you're ready to retire? Like, is it protected? You know? And they're like, well, how would you protect it? Boom. Well, you know what? I don't have time to talk about it right now, but let me just give you a quick outline of the scenario. Let me collect a couple pieces of information. And the information that you need to collect is in FFL AMS, Ask a Specialist. So if you have a login on that site, you can go in there and hit just Ask a Specialist, right? And it'll say, is this an IUL opportunity or an annuity opportunity or whatever, right?
Right.
And the difference is, and you can also get to Ask a Specialist through the Integrity Lead platform, right? Integrity Leads ILC.
Sure.
And so whether it's an annuity opportunity or IUL, is there a lump sum involved? So an annuity would be, hey, I've got $100,000 over here. I'd like to take 50 of it and put it into an annuity, right? That's annuity. If it's an accumulation, say, hey, I don't have a lump sum over here, but I do have $500 a month, like what you're talking about. That's an IUL opportunity because that's about accumulation. Would you agree on that, or anything you want to add on it?
Yeah, completely. I mean, and after the golden question, you know, I have two that I like right now is, you know, well, once I found out they do have this account, how much did you lose last month or in the last few months? Because now they're thinking, you know, gosh, you're right, I lost $100,000 or $50,000 or whatever. And then I say, well, you know, how much more are you willing to lose? And of course, the answer is, well, none. I said, well, then why is it still in that account? So, you know, it's not a trick question, but I mean, it's very powerful. But that also reminds me of the point of, you know, you can't just stop buying leads all of a sudden one day and do this, right? You have got to still keep doing what you're doing, because that is the lifeblood of our business. And if you just go elephant hunting today, these accounts take sometimes a month, 2, 3 months just to get approved. It's not a boom, you're instantly approved like we can do with, you know, in America.
So yeah.
Yeah. So if you just say, I'm going to start doing IULs, and you stop buying leads, you're going to starve to death. So keep doing what you do, but ask that question. I think you'll find a lot of people that you'd be surprised of what they have tucked away.
I think that's a great piece of advice. It's like you keep doing what's working, you keep being profitable. And this is an exercise in becoming more profitable, right? This is an exercise in upgrading my clientele, right? Just like asking for referrals is an exercise in upgrading your clientele, right? Like, who else do you know that would appreciate knowing about something like this, right? Just that simple question, right? Like, you to me, that's people that and I got sucked into this trap. I don't know if you did, but like you said, you went and knocked on doors in the very beginning and did a bunch of cold calling, right? In your past life. Right. That's my background. So where I came from, we didn't have leads. Like you cold called, and then you sniffed around for referrals, right?
Yeah.
And when I came here, there's such an abundance of leads that I was just like, well, dude, I'll just buy what you called it earlier. You called it purchasing your own paycheck, right?
Right.
Like I'm gonna spend $1,000 on leads. I'm gonna turn that into, whatever I turn that into, and then I'm gonna do it again and again and again. And you forget that, oh, shoot, that's so simple. I don't even need to ask for referrals anymore. I don't need to like prospect. I can just help
Yeah.
this person and move on to the next person. And I think it was a couple months before I was like, oh man, I'm missing a bunch of opportunities here to ask for referrals. Like, where do you work? Who owns that? Oh, you own that company. Wow. Let me ask you a question, right? Those kind of things. Like I missed so many of those opportunities in the beginning because I was just so excited about, the leads,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, when you get in the car, you realize what you should have said, and you're like, "Dang it, I got to remember to say that on my next one."
well, and here's the brilliant thing too that I think you'll agree with is that it's never too late to go back and ask.
True.
It really never is. I mean, like I have clients that, I forgot to ask for referral. Well, guess what? Once I realized, oh man, I forgot to ask, I just called them back up and say, hey, Margaret, it's Eric again. Just checking in on you. Did you get your paperwork and everything? Everything okay over there? Listen, I wanted to ask you a quick question.
Right.
I wanted to ask you for your help, whatever it is. And I think with all these things that are coming out, I mean, IULs aren't coming out. We've been doing it for a long time, but if you're just getting this idea, if you're watching this and like, oh wow, I'd like to do that, for you, it's just coming out, right?
Sure, yeah.
And so for all these things, the IULs, the annuities, the Medicare, the supplemental health, it's that we're adding to the portfolio. Your best source of new clients is to just pull your customer list, pull your people that applied for coverage and got denied, for whatever reason, right? But you pull your lapsed policyholders, right? Maybe that term policy with no return of premium wasn't a good fit for them and they let it go, right? But they'd be more. And people, I think a lot of times they think, oh, I don't have any clients that could afford this, right? Because I sold them this and they canceled it. And people, sometimes they cancel it because they're broke and they need that extra 20, 30, $50, whatever. But most of the time, the reason people cancel things is because they stop seeing value in it.
Right.
It's like, it made sense when you were sitting down with me, but now it's been 6 months or a year, whatever the case may be. And I just, I feel like I'm throwing that money away. I'm just going to stop throwing that money away. And you don't get that with products like this, right? Because I'm not throwing that money away. That's going into an account that I can see.
Do you ever get the CBRs? You ever heard of that?
No, what's that?
So I call that contingent beneficiary referral. That's the easiest. I know it's in a referral talk, but the easiest.
This is a Shannon talk. You can talk about whatever you want.
I missed this for years, but you get the beneficiary. Well, most of the time we don't ask people, hey, do you want a contingent beneficiary in case both of you died on the same plane crash or whatever. It's something it takes more time. You got to get more information. You got to type it in. And I think most people probably skip it. But if you can just ask them, hey, I mean, their beneficiary is most likely going to be their spouse, their child, right? So if you can ask them, hey, if something were to happen to you guys at the same time, who would you want the money to go to as a contingent beneficiary? And they say, oh, my brother Neil. Well, somebody taught me a long time ago. They said, so what I do is I have them text Neil and say, hey, Neil, I just took out a policy with Shannon Carpenter, and I think this will interest you also. Well, now Neil is getting this text from his brother thinking, man, I don't want some insurance dude come over here talking to me about insurance. I mean, come on, So all I did was I just took that little tidbit of information, that little nugget, and I just tweaked it a little bit. So listen to how I think it sounds better. So my text says, hey, Neil, I just took out a policy with Shannon Carpenter, and I named you as one of my beneficiaries. So Shannon's going to be calling you to go over that policy and explain how it works. And for a second, you need to know what his name and his number is and put it in your phone, because if something happens to me, I need you to reach out to him. So
beautiful.
That's a lot more powerful. Now they're not thinking Shannon's coming to talk to me. Shannon's coming to explain to me what my brother took out. But in the whole time, I'm not talking about it as a sell to this person. I'm saying, so here's what your brother did. Here's how the plan works, and should something happen to him, here's what you would get. And now they're going,
how do I get one of those?
How do I get one? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's their idea. They're like, well, how do I get one of those? And I'm as amazed as they are. I'm like, well, yeah, that's a great idea.
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea. I love that, man. I love that. So what, as you look forward in kind of from where you are forward, right? Like what are your goals this year? You're going after, Hall of Fame, or are you wanting to build a team of people that do exactly what you're doing now? Like, what are you thinking for yourself?
So first of all, I like building a team. I have, I don't know, 40 or 50 so far. I want to get people that are actively looking to change their lives. I want to get people that have a personality. People always ask me, what's the thing that you look for the most? And I did a recruiting seminar once where I had two people come up on the dry erase board and write down everything that people yell out. And in the audience, I said, what are the qualities you look for? And they said, high integrity, hard work ethic, honesty, personality. I said, okay, in 5 or 10 minutes, I can put on a nice suit and a real big smile, and I can be the biggest con artist you've ever seen. So let's go back through this list. What are the qualities that you can honestly tell about me in 10 minutes? Now, can you tell if I'm honest? No. So I mark that off. Can you tell if I'm hardworking? No. I can tell you I'm the hardest worker you've ever seen. I don't know that. You mark that off. So you're looking for the things that you can actually measure. And I can tell if you have a good personality. I can tell if we mesh well together. It's kind of like kickball back in elementary school. You pick your own team here. So pick people that you like. More than likely, my biggest question I ask people is people like who? Themselves. So if you notice, most of my team is pretty loud, pretty energetic, mostly extroverted. But anybody that would like a career doing this, where you can really help somebody. I didn't go to school to be an insurance person. I went to school to be an IT person, right? And I also studied psychology. So, but with the events of my family, I tell people this field is kind of like a secret elite society or a cult, however you want to look at it. You have to be invited in.
You do kind of have to be invited in. You're right.
Yeah, nobody goes to school and their guidance counselor in middle school says, what do you want to be when you grow up, little Johnny? And they go, I want to sell insurance.
Right. Or you should consider insurance. Like nobody said, I never got that ever. Yeah.
You have to be invited in somehow. But I tell people I will talk to anybody and give them the opportunity. But it is a lot of hard work. I don't anybody think that it's an easy gig. I do sit at home most days. I make phone calls. I'm on Zooms. Occasionally I go out and I see clients. But you got to think most of my clients are coming from other states. The area I live in, I don't get a lot of clients that do this. Most of my clients I'm licensed in 34 states, and TikTok pretty much sends me my clients. I've had to get licensed in all these states because
right.
Clients in Rhode Island. I don't think I've ever been to Rhode Island, but
you got to cross that off your list, man. Rhode Island's beautiful.
I know. Well, I'm going to see them now. One of my clients is like awesome. We talk all the time. We get along, and I'm like, I'll come there to see that dude.
Hey, on Monday, and I think it's in Providence or real close to there. We're having a opportunity meeting up there, so scoot your butt up there.
That'd be fun.
Well, I tell you, so you're bringing people on right now, right? So if somebody's watching this video and they like what you had to say, how do they get in touch with you?
One, they can either call or text me. My cell phone is 859-333-3747. So it's a bunch of threes and a big jet. 333-3747. Or they can pretty much look up FFL Alpha Team anywhere online. You can look it up on Facebook. You can look it up on Instagram or TikTok, and you can find me there. I also have a website, which is just FFL Alpha Team without the underscore, FFLAlphaTeam.com. And that'll take you to where you register, which will send me your number and your email address. It'll send you access to a 17-minute video about our company from our founder. He explains much better what we do, how it all works in 17 minutes versus me rambling on for an hour.
That's great. I really appreciate you being on here, and I'll have to go back and listen to see how loud the kids screaming in the background was. But yeah, I really appreciate it. It's super. I learned a ton, and I think there's a lot of stuff in here that people can extract and use for themselves. So I really appreciate your time. Thank you.
And I appreciate you. Thank you so much for all you do for us.
All right, man. We'll talk later.